Hey, Tommy from the Run Testers, and this is our versus of the Brooks Ghost Max and the Brooks Ghost 15, which I can't find at the moment. I think I've left it at someone's house. But we're going to dive in and we're going to do a comparison of these two shoes. Yeah. The Brooks Ghost Max costs £140 or $150, weighs 288 grams or 10.2 ounces for men in a size 8, and the drop is 6mm. Brooks Ghost 15 costs £135 or $140, it weighs 286 grams or 10.1 ounces for men in a size 8, and the drop is 11mm. The Ghost 15 is Brooks' go-to daily trainer for runners who want reliability and comfort. The updated DNA Loft V2 midsole provides a stable ride with a subtle level of cushioning, while the segmented outsole crashpad offers extra flexibility for smoother transitions. The shoe sits at the firmer end of cushioned options, providing a more supportive experience than softer alternatives, which makes it a good option for beginners or people looking for a comfortable workhorse with plenty of durability. The upper is an engineered mesh design that provides a good level of comfort, with 3D printed sections across the shoe to improve the structure and ensure a supportive fit. The outsole also features a healthy layer of rubber to improve durability and provide a good level of grip. The Ghost Max takes the design of the Ghost and increases the stack of DNA Loft V2 midsole foam to produce a more cushioned experience. Unlike some other Max shoe options, the 4mm of extra foam still retains a relatively firm ride, working alongside a GlideRoll rocker design to improve transitions. In comparison to many Max cushion shoes, that firmer midsole is noticeably more stable, making it more accessible for runners who want plenty of cushioning without losing support. That extra stability also comes from a wider base. Other features include a comfortable and breathable upper and a healthy layer of outsole rubber for grip and to protect the midsole foam.
So both shoes fit really well for me in my normal running shoe size. It's the size I've been using for Brooks cushion shoes for a long time. They're both very comfortable, lots of padding around the tongue and heel, and have a good amount of room in the toe box for what is both predominantly easy day shoes for me. So it's nice to have a lot of room in there. Yeah, so I was very happy in my normal running shoe size with the Brooks Ghost and Ghost Max.
So fit for me in both of these shoes is pretty similar. The Brooks Ghost Max, there's quite a roomy forefoot in it. I'm an 8 in the UK, this is a size 8, and I would definitely stay to my size in this shoe. There's a nice fit from the upper. I'd probably say there's a little bit less space in the forefoot than what you might get in some shoes, but I didn't have any issues with it at all. I felt very comfortable and it felt like there was plenty of room in the forefoot for me. So I stay to my size in the Brooks Ghost Max. In the Brooks Ghost 15, very similar upper. I've got a size 8 in that shoe in the UK. Fits perfectly, very comfortable, plenty of space in the forefoot as well. So pretty much the same for both of these, and I stay to my size in both shoes.
So the Ghost 15 was a shoe I tested a while ago now, and I wasn't a big fan of it. I found it just a little bit too clumpy and heavy for me. I didn't really like the very high drop you have on the shoe. And generally I don't mind a high drop shoe, but the Ghost 15 is almost a bit of a throwback these days with its very high drop. You really do snap through, and that creates a bit of forefoot discomfort for me as a heel striker. And in general, I think it doesn't produce a very versatile ride. Like, it's okay for mooching along, but if I want to start running fast, the way that drop snaps through, I think almost slows me down a fair bit on the run. Whereas with the Ghost Max, the rocker really is noticeable, and I think it's the key differentiating feature between them. Obviously, you've got loads more foam on the Ghost Max, and that does create a bit more cushioning and comfort, but I think it's the rocker that really improves the ride feel for me compared to the Ghost 15. So a really smooth ride. It makes the shoe feel lighter than it is. Like, it makes it feel lighter than the Ghost 15 was when I was testing that, even though the weight is still quite high on the Ghost Max, but it ticks along very nicely. It gives it a bit more versatility. When I move through the gears in the Ghost Max, it feels quite comfortable, and especially for long runs where I'm never really running hard, but I just want to tick along at a good pace throughout. Ghost Max feels really good for that kind of thing. Protects the legs well, very fluid, rolls through, nice rocker. Whereas the Ghost 15 is more noticeable in a bad way. Like I said, snapping through and getting a bit of forefoot discomfort. There's a lot more cushioning under the forefoot of the Ghost Max as well, which I do like on a shoe. And that just produces a ride that I prefer for any kind of run. I think it's more comfortable and cushioned for easy runs. I like it more for long runs for sure. And I do think, though neither are particularly versatile shoes, I'd probably give the Ghost Max the edge on that, because the rocker just makes it that slightly more fluid ride that makes it a little bit more versatile if you are going to start increasing the pace a little bit. Both of them have got excellent outsoles, I'll say that. I've used both of them in the UK at times. There's been slick pavements, leaves all over them, and both have gripped really well for me. Both got excellent uppers, very cushioned, nothing to pick between them there. So it really does just come down to that ride feel. If you want the very high drop and the snappier traditional ride of the Ghost 15, it's there, but I much prefer the rockered ride you get with the Ghost Max, which is more comfortable and in general I think just makes for a better experience on really any kind of run. So yeah, I definitely prefer the run test in the Ghost Max.
Whenever a shoe is released that is max cushioned, I normally get very excited. I love cushion shoes. I love having soft or bouncy shoes. And I was never a massive fan of any of the original Ghosts. So when the Brooks Ghost Max came out, or we heard about it, I was very excited because I thought it might be a similar scenario to the New Balance V3 and V4, where the Fresh Foam 1080 V11 and V12, the midsole foam in that, didn't like it, never really enjoyed it. Similar to the Ghost, it just felt a bit dull to me, didn't really do anything, wasn't a very technologically advanced foam in my eyes. But when the V3 came out, I tested it, and even though it's got the same foam in, it just felt really nice, had a much smoother action. The foam just felt a little bit softer for me, and it just felt like a shoe that really delivered on those easy runs and long runs. It was just really surprised me how good that shoe was. So I was kind of hoping that the Brooks Ghost Max would be the same, that it suddenly changed my view of the Ghost range and it'd be a shoe that I really like because I love those cushion shoes. Now, the original Ghost, the reason I didn't like it is because that foam just doesn't seem to do anything for me. It's very dull. It's solid. It's stable. It's comfortable. If you're maybe a general runner, it just doesn't have much to it. It doesn't do a lot. So you can't really run fast in it. You can't really do really enjoyable easy runs where there's a little bit of bounce and a little softness in it. It's just a solid shoe which doesn't really do anything that interesting. It's reliable. That's why a lot of people use it. But I was never a big fan of the shoe. I just had other shoes that I would use, much rather use instead for things like easy runs and daily runs. Sad to say that the Ghost Max is pretty similar to that. By adding more foam into this shoe, it hasn't really gained a lot for me. It's still quite firm, it's still quite dull, and it doesn't really do a lot. I think the main difference for me is that there's a bit more of a rocker in it than in the Ghost 15. It just feels a little bit like it's moving you forward a bit. I do find that the ride is fine. It's not a problem at all. I've done about 50k in this shoe so far, and I've not had any issues with it. It's definitely not been a shoe that I've hated wearing, but I just haven't really felt any benefit from it being a max cushion shoe. So I'm not blown away by this shoe. I just think it's solid. It feels quite stable for a max cushion shoe. I think it's probably more accessible to a lot of people just because it's comfortable, solid. You don't have to worry about stability in it. The Ghost 15 doesn't really have a nice rocker to it. It does feel a little bit more flexible to me. So it doesn't have the same sort of feeling when you're moving forward. It doesn't feel consistent and like you can cruise in it. It just feels a little bit dead to me, whereas this does feel a bit better. So I have noticed a benefit to the Ghost Max over the Ghost because of that rocker and that just feeling of consistency when you're running. I think they're both very similar when it comes to comfort. I think they're very similar in terms of how they feel on the run, apart from that rocker action. The one thing for me that I noticed about the Brooks Ghost Max is that I did find the outsole was a little bit slippy. It's been very wet around Brighton at the moment. I did find it just felt a little bit slippy on some of the road that I was on, which I didn't experience in the Ghost 15. Overall, I do think they're pretty similar, and I don't think you'll get a massive difference from the extra midsole in the Brooks Ghost Max. So my verdict on these two shoes is it's a tricky one because I don't really think you get a lot by going to the Brooks Ghost Max. I don't think the extra foam really makes a difference. The only difference for me is that slight rocker action, that slight rocker feel, which does make it feel a little bit more efficient. It feels a little bit more rigid to me, so it sort of moves your foot a little bit more into position than the more natural feeling Ghost 15 does. But in reality, there's very little in it. And if you're looking for a Ghost 15 but you want a load more cushioning, it's not going to be a massive impact if you get this one. So I'd still go for the Brooks Ghost Max just because of that rocker action, but it's not a massive difference for me. What I would say is that if you're looking for a max cushion shoe, there are some great options out there. Things like the New Balance V2 is a fantastic shoe. It's got a much better rolling action. It's just a little bit softer for me. I also think that it's a tricky shoe, and I can't quite work out why it exists alongside the Brooks Glycerin 20. Hopefully we'll see the 21 soon, because that shoe is a fantastic cushion shoe. It's got a lovely midsole foam, a new midsole foam that came out in the Glycerin 20. It's just a little bit softer, a little bit more enjoyable. It's a fantastic shoe, and hopefully the 21 will be even better, because the Triumph 21 is actually probably picking it up for me at the moment in terms of cushion shoes. But it just has a lot more to it in this shoe. This shoe just feels a little bit firmer, more stable, but just a little bit lifeless as a result. So I'm not quite sure how the Ghost Max and the Brooks Glycerin 20 fit together now. I'd definitely go for the Brooks Glycerin 20, but if you want something firmer and a bit more stable, Ghost Max is probably the one to go for.
So very clear verdict for me here. Like, I know it's slightly more expensive, the Ghost Max, but I think it's a significantly more enjoyable shoe to use for any kind of run than the Ghost 15. Unless you have a reason for sticking with that very high drop on the Ghost 15, if you really like it, maybe find it puts less pressure on your calves, that kind of thing. If you've always really got on very well with those high drop shoes, Ghost is great to have on the market, but I much prefer the rockered feel of the Ghost Max. I think it's more comfortable with the extra foam in there, a little bit more versatile. All the great elements you have on the Ghost in terms of the outsole and the upper both being really good are on the Ghost Max as well, and the ride is just better all round because of the higher stack of foam and the rocker. So yeah, Ghost Max for me, easy pick here.
That's it from us on this Versus. Thanks a lot for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, click that little bell, and don't forget that we also have our monthly podcast that comes out at the end of each month, or most months. If you go into Catch and Blow, you can find a link to the latest one. Thanks a lot for watching. Catch you next time.